The red dust of Mars swirled around Lieutenant Susan Mitchell's boots as she made her way across the rocky terrain. Her geological survey of the Valles Marineris had been routine until now. The readings on her scanner made no sense. They showed a perfectly geometric structure buried beneath centuries of Martian soil. Base, this is Mitchell. I'm picking up some unusual readings at grid point 47 Alpha, she reported, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The communication delay of 12 minutes meant she had to make decisions on her own. She switched on her suit's enhanced scanning mode and began a careful sweep of the area. The geometric pattern extended far deeper than her initial readings suggested. As she walked the perimeter, marking it with digital beacons, the shape became clear. It was a perfect hexagon, roughly the size of a football field. Back at Mars Base 1, Director Paul Adams reviewed the incoming data with growing excitement. He had overseen countless surveys over the past 5 years, but nothing like this had ever crossed his desk. He immediately contacted Earth's United Space Command. "Get me Admiral Linda Carter," he told his aide. "This isn't something that can wait." The discovery set off a chain of events that would change humanity's place in the universe. Within 24 hours, a specialized team of archaeologists and xenotechnologists was en route to Mars. Among them was Dr. Ryan Howard, the leading expert in theoretical alien architecture. The excavation began 3 days later. The team worked methodically, using sonic diggers to clear away millennia of accumulated dust and rock. On the 5th day, they uncovered the first metallic surface, a material that shouldn't have existed on Mars. "It's some kind of alloy," Dr. Howard explained during the daily briefing. "Nothing we've ever seen before. The molecular structure is far too precise to be natural or human-made." The breakthrough came when they cleared the central section. A doorway appeared, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Lieutenant Mitchell, who had made the initial discovery, was given the honor of being the first to enter once the structure was deemed safe. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. The team's lights revealed corridors that seemed to absorb and redirect light in impossible ways. But it was the central chamber that held the greatest surprise, a 3-dimensional star map hovering in midair, powered by technology that had survived for what must have been thousands of years. Dr. Howard spent weeks studying the map with his team. "It's not just a map," he announced finally. "It's an invitation. These coordinates," he pointed to a pulsing blue point of light, "they're marked differently from the others. And based on the symbols we've managed to translate, they point to something called the Council of Elders." Admiral Carter arrived on Mars personally to assess the situation. The discovery was too important to trust to video conferences. She stood in the central chamber, watching the star map rotate slowly above her head. "What are your recommendations, Doctor?" she asked Howard. "We need to go there," he replied without hesitation. "This technology, these coordinates, they're meant to be found by species reaching a certain level of development. We're meant to follow them." The Admiral nodded slowly. "And if it's a trap? Then we'll be walking into it with our eyes open." Lieutenant Mitchell spoke up. "But everything we found here suggests this was meant as a peaceful first contact protocol." The decision to mount an expedition was not unanimous. Earth's Security Council debated for weeks. Some argued it was too risky, that humanity should focus on developing its defenses before reaching out to advanced alien civilizations. Others saw it as an opportunity that couldn't be missed. In the end, the explorers won the argument. The U.S. Horizon, Earth's newest and most advanced starship, was selected for the mission. Captain Peter Grant was chosen to command, with Lieutenant Mitchell and Dr. Howard joining as key members of the expedition team. The Horizon underwent 3 months of modifications, incorporating everything they had learned from the Martian structure. The ship's computers were updated with translation matrices derived from the alien symbols. New sensor arrays were installed, designed to detect the unique energy signatures they'd found in the ruins. On launch day, Captain Grant stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the crew that would carry humanity's hopes into the unknown. Lieutenant Mitchell was at the science station, Dr. Howard at Archaeology, and his trusted first officer, Commander Beth Wilson, at Tactical. "All stations report ready, Captain," Commander Wilson announced. Grant took a deep breath. The coordinates from the star map had been programmed into their navigation systems. They were about to attempt humanity's first faster-than-light jump, using principles derived from studying the alien technology. "Ship-wide address," he ordered, and waited for the channel to open. "This is the captain speaking. In a few minutes, we'll attempt our first jump to the coordinates found in the Mars ruins. We don't know what we'll find at the other end, but we carry with us the hopes and dreams of our entire species. Every person on this ship was chosen because you're the best at what you do. Whatever happens, remember, we're making history today." He nodded to his navigator. "Begin jump sequence." The Horizon's engines hummed to life, building to a pitch that made the deck plates vibrate. On the main screen, the stars began to blur. "Jump drive at full power," reported the engineer. "Navigation locked on target coordinates," added the navigator. Captain Grant settled into his chair. "Take us to the council, Lieutenant." Jump. The ship surged forward, reality bent around them, and humanity took its first step into a much larger universe. None of them knew that they were about to uncover truths about their own species that had been hidden for 50,000 years. The horizon vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind a blue-green Earth that had no idea how much everything was about to change. In his private log that evening, Captain Grant recorded a simple message: "We have found the path. Now we must be ready for whatever awaits us at its end." The ship's lights dimmed to night cycle as they hurtled through space at impossible speeds, carrying the first humans to make contact with the Council of Elders. In her quarters, Lieutenant Mitchell studied the star map one more time, wondering what secrets waited at those pulsing coordinates and whether humanity was truly ready to learn them. The first part of humanity's greatest journey had begun. The path to the Council had been found, but no one aboard the Horizon could guess the shocking revelations that awaited them. Truths about their own species that would shake the foundations of human history. After 3 months of faster-than-light travel, the U.S. Horizon emerged into an unfamiliar solar system. The sight that greeted them left the entire bridge crew speechless. A massive space station hung in space before them, its design unlike anything humans had ever built. It resembled a giant snowflake made of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields, spanning several kilometers across. Multiple ships detected in the area. Commander Beth Wilson reported from her tactical station. At least 12 different designs. None match any known configuration. Captain Peter Grant straightened in his chair. "Open all frequencies, standard greeting protocol." Before they could transmit, their communication system activated on its own. A soft voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English. "U.S. Horizon, you are expected. Please follow the designated path to Docking Bay 7. Lieutenant Susan Mitchell's hands flew over her science console. "Captain, they're using the same technology we found in the Mars ruins. The translation matrix is interfacing with their systems automatically." A glowing path appeared in space before them, leading to one of the station's many docking ports. Captain Grant nodded to his helmsman. "Take us in, nice and easy." As they approached the station, the crew got their first look at the other species through the view screens. Ships of various sizes and designs moved through space with practiced grace. Some were organic-looking, others purely mechanical, and a few seemed to bend the very fabric of space around them. The docking procedure went smoothly, guided by the station's automated systems. When the airlock seals were confirmed, Dr. Ryan Howard checked the atmospheric readings. "Air is breathable, sir. Slightly higher oxygen content than Earth normal, but within safe parameters." Captain Grant selected his first contact team carefully. Himself, Lieutenant Mitchell, Dr. Howard, and Commander Wilson. As they stepped through the airlock, they were met by their first alien, a tall, silvery being with flowing movements that made it look almost liquid. "Welcome to the Station of Elders," the being said, its surface rippling with each word. "I am Guide Saren. The Council has waited long for humanity to find their way here. The human delegation followed Guide Siren through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they walked. Other aliens passed them by, some walking, others floating, and a few moving in ways that defied human understanding. There are currently 12 species represented on the Council, Siren explained. Each achieved spacefaring status and found their way here, just as you have. They entered a vast circular chamber. 11 beings sat in raised seats around the perimeter, each different from the last. Some were clearly organic, others appeared mechanical, and a few defied easy classification. Chief Science Officer Laura Bennett, who had joined them from the ship, noticed something odd about the way the Council members watched them. There was tension in the chamber, subtle but unmistakable. Honorable Council, Guide Siren announced, I present the representatives of humanity, the 13th species to find their way to us. One of the Council members, a being that looked like a collection of geometric shapes arranged into a vaguely humanoid form, spoke first. We have observed your species for many cycles. You advanced. Quickly. The way it said quickly made Commander Wilson's tactical instincts tingle. She noticed several Council members shift in what might have been discomfort. Diplomatic Officer Kevin Harris, the final member of their party, stepped forward. His years of training told him something was off about this reception. Honorable Council, we are grateful for this welcome. Humanity comes seeking peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture. A different Council member, this one appearing as a cluster of bioluminescent tentacles, responded. Peace. Yes, your species speaks often of peace. Yet your history. The being didn't finish its thought, but the implication hung in the air. Captain Grant was about to respond when Kevin Harris noticed something on his datapad. The translation matrix was picking up encrypted data streams flowing through the chamber. Most were heavily protected, but fragments broke through. Classification: warrior species. Genetic markers confirm. Security protocols. Harris caught Lieutenant Mitchell's eye and subtly showed her his pad. Her eyes widened slightly as she read the fragments. The Council meeting continued for several hours, full of diplomatic pleasantries that somehow felt hollow. When they were finally shown to their quarters on the station, the human delegation gathered in private. They're afraid of us, Commander Wilson stated bluntly once they were alone. Not just afraid, Harris added. They knew we were coming. They've been watching us, and something about us has them deeply concerned. Dr. Howard connected his pad to the room's data terminal. The Mars ruins weren't a generic first contact protocol. They were specifically meant for us to find. This whole thing feels like a carefully managed introduction. Captain Grant looked out the viewport at the spectacular space station. The question is, why? What do they know about us that we don't? Lieutenant Mitchell cleared her throat. Permission to speak freely, sir. Always, Lieutenant. Back in the Council chamber, I ran detailed scans of the various species present. Their genetic structures are all different from each other, as you'd expect from independent evolution. But I found something odd in the comparative analysis. There are markers in human DNA that don't match naturally evolved patterns. They're more like what? Wilson prompted. More like engineered sequences, very, very old ones. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Captain Grant was about to respond when their door chimed. Guide Siren's voice came through the speaker. The Council requests your presence for a private session. They are prepared to share certain truths about your species. Truths that have been hidden for 50,000 years. The human delegation looked at each other. Whatever they were about to learn would change everything they thought they knew about their own history. Tell them we'll be right there, Captain Grant replied. To his team, he added quietly, whatever we're about to hear, remember we represent all of humanity. Let's handle this with dignity. As they followed Guide Siren back to the Council chamber, each member of the delegation tried to prepare themselves for revelations that would shake the foundations of human history. But nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to learn about humanity's true origins. The station's lights dimmed as they walked, as if the very architecture was setting the stage for momentous revelations. The truth about humanity's past and their potential future waited behind the council chamber's doors. Dr. Alice Crawford stood before the holographic display in the council's archive chamber, her hands shaking slightly as she studied the genetic sequences floating before her. After 3 days of research clearance, she had found something that changed everything they knew about human origins. "Captain, you need to see this," she called to Captain Grant, who was reviewing other historical documents nearby. The rest of the human delegation gathered around as she highlighted specific sections of the DNA strand. "These markers here, they're artificial, but the engineering is incredibly sophisticated. Whoever did this was working with genetic science far beyond our current understanding." She paused, collecting her thoughts. They weren't just making small changes, they were designing a species. The liquid silver form of Guide Saren flowed into the room. "You have found it sooner than expected." Yes, humanity was engineered, but the full story is complex. The council chamber, when they reconvened, felt heavy with the weight of history. All 12 council members were present as a new hologram filled the center of the room. It showed Earth, but not as they knew it, Earth of 50,000 years ago. The geometric-shaped council member, who had introduced itself as Elder Prime, began the explanation. "Your planet was selected for its ideal conditions. The species you evolved from was promising, but limited. Then the creators came." Images showed massive ships in Earth's orbit, unlike anything in the Council's current fleet. The creators were the first spacefaring race in our galaxy. They had a philosophy of uplifting promising species, guiding evolution. But with humanity, they tried something different. Commander Wilson noticed how several council members shifted uncomfortably at this point. The bioluminescent being picked up the narrative. The creators were facing a threat, an aggressive species from another galaxy. They decided to create warriors. Dr. Howard's eyes widened as the implications became clear. They used Earth as a testing ground. "Yes," Guide Saren confirmed. "They took your ancestral species and began making changes. Enhanced strength, improved healing, advanced problem-solving skills. But most importantly, they enhanced your capacity for both innovation and aggression." Lieutenant Mitchell spoke up, her voice steady despite the shocking revelations. "What happened to these creators?" A new hologram appeared, showing a massive space battle. "They vanished," Elder Prime explained. "The war they feared came, but differently than expected. Both they and their enemies disappeared. Some believe they destroyed each other. Others think they transcended to another plane of existence. But they left behind their greatest experiment, humanity. And you've been watching us ever since," Captain Grant concluded. "Yes, we formed the council from the younger races who achieved space travel. We found the records of what the creators had done. We watched humanity develop, feared what you might become." The bioluminescent being's tentacles twisted in what might have been anxiety. "Your progress has been unprecedented." Dr. Crawford studied the genetic data again. "These enhancements, they're not just physical, are they? They modified our capacity for warfare, our ability to adapt and overcome challenges." "The creators designed humans to be the perfect soldiers," Commander Wilson said quietly. "But they abandoned the project before it was complete." Guide Saren flowed closer to the human delegation. "You were designed to be more than soldiers. The creators wanted to make warriors who could think, create, and solve problems. They succeeded beyond their expectations. Look at your history. In just a few thousand years, you went from stone tools to space travel." Captain Grant stood straighter. "And now you have to decide what to do with us." "Yes," Elder Prime confirmed. "Some on the council believe you are too dangerous to allow into the galactic community. Others see your potential as protectors, peacekeepers. You have the creator's gift for warfare, but you also have something they didn't expect, a strong drive for peace and cooperation." The human delegation processed this information in stunned silence. Everything they had believed about human evolution and history had just been upended. "There's more," Guide Saren added. The genetic modifications are still active. Each generation of humans has the potential to become slightly stronger, slightly smarter. You are still evolving, still becoming what the creators intended. Commander John Phillips, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. That's what really worries you, isn't it? Not what we are now, but what we might become. The council chamber fell silent. The truth of his words hung in the air. We must decide, Elder Prime said finally. But first, you must decide. Now that you know your true origins, what path will humanity choose? Will you be the warriors the creators designed, or something more? Captain Grant looked at each member of his team before responding. Humanity has always been both creator and destroyer, builder and warrior. Knowing our origins doesn't change who we are. It helps us understand why we are this way. The real question is how we choose to use these abilities. As the human delegation left the chamber to discuss their next steps, Dr. Crawford lingered behind, still studying the genetic data. The truth about humanity's engineered origins would shake Earth to its core. But it was the future implications that truly mattered now. Back in their quarters, the team gathered to discuss what they had learned. The weight of responsibility on their shoulders was enormous. They had to decide not just how to share this information with Earth, but how to proceed with the Council. The stars visible through their viewport seemed different now, knowing their species had been designed to reach them. Humanity's path to the stars hadn't been natural evolution, but they had earned their place among them all the same. The question that remained was what they would do with this knowledge, and how they would prove to the Council that humanity could be trusted with their inherited powers. Lieutenant William Morris moved silently through the lower levels of the Council station. His security training had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now every instinct was screaming that something was wrong. He had noticed increased activity in the restricted sections, and the energy readings from these areas didn't match any official reports. Using the access codes Dr. Crawford had discovered in the archive, he slipped into a maintenance tunnel. The Council's technology was advanced, but their basic security protocols weren't so different from human ones. Overconfidence was universal, it seemed. What he found made his blood run cold. Hidden machinery was coming online, generating interference patterns that would disrupt faster than light travel, specifically calibrated to affect human FTL drives. Morris to Captain Grant. Secure channel. He whispered into his communicator. Sir, we have a serious problem. Back on the U.S. horizon, Captain Grant received the report with growing concern. He gathered his senior staff in his ready room, making sure their anti-surveillance measures were active. They're planning to strand us here, Commander Wilson said, her tactical mind already working through the implications. If they can disable our FTL capability, Earth would be effectively isolated. Dr. Howard studied the technical data Lieutenant Morris had transmitted. These devices are specifically designed to interact with the technology we derived from the Mars ruins. This isn't a new development. They'd been preparing for this possibility for a long time. Captain Grant looked out his viewport at the massive station. Not all of them. Remember, the Council is divided on how to handle us. We need to find out who our allies are. On Earth, Director Mary Thompson sat in a classified underground facility, reviewing the latest transmission from the horizon. The news about humanity's engineered origins had been shocking enough, but this new development required immediate action. Begin Operation Safeguard, she ordered. Quietly. We don't want to provoke a conflict, but we need to be ready. Across the solar system, hidden shipyards that had been prepared for just such a possibility began powering up. A fleet of ships, built using a mixture of human innovation and recovered alien technology, started coming online. Back on the station, Lieutenant Mitchell discovered something interesting in her continued research. Captain, look at this. The energy patterns from those interference devices. They have a weakness. The creators built redundancies into our FTL systems that even we didn't know about. Guide Saren, who had become increasingly concerned about the growing faction favoring human containment, secretly met with Captain Grant. The liquid silver being's surface rippled with agitation. Not all of us support these measures, Saren explained. Many believe humanity could be valuable allies. But the fear runs deep. The creators designed you too well. Your potential for both creation and destruction frightens those who prefer stability over progress. And what do you believe? Grant asked directly. I believe the galaxy needs humanity's unique capabilities, but my opinion is not shared by all. The situation grew more tense as days passed. More council ships arrived at the station, taking up positions that could quickly become tactical if needed. The Horizon's crew maintained their diplomatic facade while quietly preparing for any possibility. Commander Wilson developed a series of contingency plans, each more detailed than the last. If they try to trap us here, we have options. The Horizon systems have been significantly upgraded since we found the Mars ruins. We're not as vulnerable as they might think. Lieutenant Morris continued his covert observations, documenting every suspicious movement. During one of his surveillance sessions, he overheard a conversation between council members that confirmed their worst fears. The humans must be contained, one being insisted. Their rate of advancement is too dangerous. Look how quickly they went from discovering our ruins to reaching us. Imagine what they could become in another century. But their potential as allies, another began, is outweighed by the risk they pose. The vote is tomorrow. The containment protocols are ready. Morris transmitted this information immediately to Captain Grant, who called an emergency meeting of his senior staff. We have until tomorrow to prevent them from trapping humanity in our solar system, Grant announced. Ideas. Dr. Crawford spoke up. The genetic data I've been studying. It shows something they might not have realized. The creators didn't just engineer us for warfare. They built in safeguards, ethical constraints. We're actually hardwired to prefer cooperation over conflict when possible. Can you prove it? Commander Wilson asked. I can show them their own data. The proof has been in their archives all along. They just haven't looked at it properly. Captain Grant nodded. Get everything ready. Tomorrow, we show them that humanity is more than what they fear we might become. As the Horizon's crew prepared for what might be the most important diplomatic presentation in human history, Director Thompson's secret fleet took up hidden positions throughout the solar system. The next 24 hours would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. In his quarters, Captain Grant recorded a log entry. We stand at a crossroads. Tomorrow, we either prove humanity can be trusted with its inherited powers, or we face isolation from the galactic community. The creators designed us to be warriors, but they also gave us the wisdom to know when not to fight. It's time to prove we can be both. The station's artificial night cycle began, but few of either species slept. Too much hung in the balance. The next day would determine whether humanity's path led to partnership or conflict with the galactic community. The council chamber buzzed with tension as all 12 members took their seats. Captain Grant and his team stood in the center, surrounded by the most powerful beings in known space. The vote that would decide humanity's future was about to begin. Elder Prime spoke first. Before we vote on the containment measure, the humans have requested a final presentation. We will hear them. Dr. Crawford stepped forward, activating a holographic display that filled the chamber. Honorable Council, you've seen what the creators made us to be, but you haven't seen everything. She brought up the complex genetic sequences she discovered. These are the ethical safeguards built into our very DNA. The council members leaned forward, their various forms showing signs of interest as she continued. The creators didn't just make us warriors. They gave us empathy, compassion, and a drive to protect. Yes, we can fight, but we prefer to build. Lieutenant Mitchell added her own data to the display. Look at human history. Every major war has been followed by periods of incredible creation and cooperation. We rebuild. We help our former enemies. We learn and grow. Captain Grant watched as the council members studied the evidence. He could see the divide among them. Some still radiating fear, others showing growing interest. "Pretty words," said one of the council members who favored containment. "But actions speak louder. Show us proof." Commander Wilson stepped forward. "We've known about your containment devices for days," she announced, causing a stir among the council. "We could have sabotaged them. We could have called for reinforcements. Instead, we're here, talking." Guide Saren moved to the center of the chamber. "She speaks truth. The humans discovered our plans but chose diplomacy." The bioluminescent being's tentacles waved in agitation. "They could still become a threat. Their advancement rate is unprecedented." "Yes," Dr. Howard agreed. "We advance quickly. But look how we use that advancement." He displayed images of human achievements, hospitals, schools, environmental restoration projects. "For every weapon we create, we make 10 tools for peace." The chamber erupted in discussion. Captain Grant waited for the noise to settle before speaking. "Honorable Council, we understand your fears. The creators made us to be warriors in a war that never came. But we've grown beyond their original design. We don't want to fight you. We want to help you. Help us." Elder Prime asked. "How?" "You need peacekeepers, species who can defend against threats but know when not to fight." "That's exactly what we've become. The creators may have designed us as weapons, but we chose to be guardians instead." Lieutenant Morris stepped forward, displaying tactical data. "We've analyzed the Council's defense capabilities. You have amazing technology, but you lack strategic thinking. We could help improve your security without a single shot being fired." The council members consulted among themselves. Guide Saren's surface rippled with what seemed like approval. Dr. Crawford displayed one final piece of evidence, the complete genetic blueprint of humanity. "Look at the whole pattern. We're designed to protect, to solve problems, to create. The warrior aspect is just one part of who we are." Hours passed as the council debated. The human delegation stood firm, answering questions, providing evidence, showing patience even as their future hung in the balance. Finally, Elder Prime called for the vote. On the matter of human containment, the geometric being announced, the council has reached a decision. The chamber fell silent. Captain Grant felt the weight of 7 billion human lives on his shoulders. By a vote of 7-5, the containment measure is rejected. Furthermore, we extend an offer to humanity. Join us not as subjects, but as partners. Your unique capabilities could help maintain peace across the galaxy. The relief in the room was palpable. Guide Saren moved forward to formally present the offer of alliance. "Humanity will have a seat on this council," Elder Prime declared. "Your species has proven itself to be more than the weapon you were designed to be. You have become something the creators never expected, a race that understands both the art of war and the importance of peace." Captain Grant accepted the offer with dignity. "On behalf of humanity, we are honored. We will use our abilities to protect and preserve, not to destroy." As the formal proceedings concluded, Dr. Crawford made one final discovery in the genetic data. She showed it to Captain Grant privately. A message encoded in human DNA by the creators themselves. "To our greatest creation, may you find the wisdom to use your strength for the good of all." The U.S. Horizons crew returned to their ship to send the news to Earth. Director Thompson's hidden fleet could stand down. Humanity had found its place among the stars not through force of arms, but through the very qualities the creators had built into them. The ability to choose peace over war, creation over destruction. Captain Grant's final log entry of the mission read, "We came to the council expecting to find our past. Instead, we found our future. Humanity's path now leads not to war, but to guardianship. The creators made us warriors, but we chose to be protectors. That choice has made all the difference." As the Horizon prepared for its journey home, the council station glowed with new energy. The 13th seat was being prepared. Humanity's place among the stars was secure. They had found their path, and it led not to war, but to something greater. The chance to protect and guide the galaxy they now called home.